My best friend Mu Wan was infertile. After I had a child, she plotted to sell me into the mountains. She took my child and smoothly married my husband, Gu Feng. After I was rescued, my husband, son, and mother-in-law all sided with her. Wan Wan and I are already married. Why did you come back? You might as well have died out there. Later, I was truly killed by Mu Wan, with Gu Feng comforting her by her side. Heaven has eyes. I actually reincarnated back to the day I married Gu Feng, facing the crowd of relatives and friends. I chose to call off the wedding on the spot. Let's see how she plans to marry into the Gu family without me as her stepping stone to bear children. Listening to the discussions outside, I was overjoyed, had returned to over a decade ago. The day I married Gu Feng and I grew up together as childhood sweethearts, and our families had long arranged our marriage since we were children. Today was supposed to be our wedding day, but Gu Feng was late to fetch his bride. Others may not know, but I'm well aware that right now, he's at the hospital keeping my delicate and frail best friend company. With Mu Wan's sweet whispers, she's probably already charmed Gu Feng into complete oblivion. I just wonder, without me paving the way this lifetime, whether a woman who can't bear children will ever make it through the Gu family's doors. The clamor outside continued, but I walked straight out of the dressing room, looking at the crowd of relatives and friends below the stage. I took the microphone from the host and began to speak my mind without holding back. Thank you all for taking the time to attend my wedding, but today's ceremony ends here. Gu Feng and I have known each other for over 20 years. Today was supposed to be our wedding day, yet he abandoned me to take care of Mu Wan. As a woman, I cannot accept spending my life with someone like this. With those words, 2 silent tears slid down my cheeks at just the right moment, leaving everyone with a sorrowful image of my retreating figure. That Wan girl is really too wicked. Yes, Shen Miao and Gu Feng were the golden couple we all watched grow up. What a shame. There are no flies on a tight-sealed egg. Haven't you heard? Gu Feng is currently accompanying Mu Wan. Listening to the chatter around me, the corner of my mouth lifted imperceptibly. This time, I'll strike first and nail these two to the shameful board as scumbags and trash. Before long, the commotion outside the door quieted down. After comforting the guests, my mother hugged me and burst into tears, while my father sat silently nearby, his face dark with anger. In my past life, after I went missing, my mother cried until she went blind, and my father exhausted our family fortune just to find me. But our family of 3 had just reunited when Mu Wan caused my death, after searching for their daughter for over a decade, only to have her die right before their eyes. It must have been more painful than death itself for them. Now, seeing them again, I couldn't hold back my tears. Witnessing this, my mother quickly pulled me into her arms to comfort me. They just thought I was furious with Gu Feng. After comforting my parents, I went straight to the Gu residence. Since the engagement was to be called off, certain matters naturally needed to be clarified and settled properly. Just as I arrived at the Gu residence, I ran into Gu Feng, who had just returned from the hospital. He saw me and his face lit up with joy. Meow meow, I'm sorry, today Nguyen had a heart attack, so I had to take her to the hospital first, but later, I don't know why I fell asleep, just like the explanation from my past life. Only this time, I fiercely shook off his hand. Gu Feng, let's just call it quits. My words made his tall frame stagger slightly before he clung to me desperately, explaining himself and promising he would treat me well in the future. What hypocrisy, playing both sides. He could abandon me even at our wedding, yet here he is shamelessly claiming he'll treat me well. How laughable. Looking at Mu Wan, who was seething with hatred beside me, I sneered coldly. Meow meow, it's all my fault. Blame my weak constitution. If I drag you all down because of me, I might as well die. Mu Wan stood nearby, crying pitifully like pear blossoms bathed in rain, clutching her chest and gasping for breath as she spoke. This scene utterly broke Gu Feng's heart. Supporting her trembling body, I kept comforting her. Wan, this matter has nothing to do with you. Please don't overthink it. Meow Meow is the most understanding person. She definitely won't blame you. After saying this, he even gave me a meaningful look, signaling me to agree with him. I scoffed. What audacity. Exactly. It takes 2 to tango. If you're blaming me, you should blame yourself too. Under their stunned gazes, I gave each of them a resounding slap. Shen Miao, have you lost your mind? The sound of my slap echoed simultaneously with the scream of Gu Feng's mother. Wang Feng, in the Gu family's living room, Wang Feng stared at me without a trace of guilt. Although Feng'er was wrong in this matter, he is still your husband after all. Apologize to him immediately, and we'll consider this matter settled. Otherwise, I won't acknowledge you as my daughter-in-law anymore. I couldn't help but scoff. Gu Feng wouldn't have turned out like this without Wang Feng's contribution. Spare the rod and spoil the child. The ancients truly spoke wisely. In her eyes, no matter why I hit Gu Feng, the fact that I laid hands on him makes it my fault. Apologize, as if, take a piss and look at yourself in it. See if you're even worthy. I walked up to Gu Feng and asked, do you think what your mother said was right? My calmness made Gu Feng a little flustered. He took my hand and promised me that he would never let me down in the future and that I didn't need to apologize. Looking at his sincere expression, I let out a light laugh and then slapped him hard across the face again. Even a clay figurine has some temper. After repeatedly humiliating Gu Feng, he couldn't help but get angry. Shen Miao, after all these years of friendship, do you really have to cling to such a trivial matter? When did you become so petty? This time, I didn't argue back. Instead, I proved my pettiness with actions. I couldn't help but slap Gu Feng again, and even smashed up the Gu family's house. Amid Wang Feng's continuous curses, I found a handy tool and destroyed everything breakable in the Gu household. Having endured silently in the mountains for over a decade in my past life, I finally released all that pent-up frustration in this moment. Looking at the complete mess on the floor, I felt thoroughly satisfied. As I was leaving, I looked at Mu Wan, who was crying pitifully, and said sarcastically, thank you for always stopping us from getting our marriage certificate before. It turns out you've done me a huge favor, but I advise you to stop scheming over Gu Feng. The Gu family wouldn't want a woman who can't get pregnant to marry in, would they? My words successfully put the two women present on high alert. Early the next morning, Mu Wan started putting on a show right outside my door. Auntie, it's all my fault. My body failed me, and Brother Gufeng missed the wedding because he had to take me to the hospital. Every bit of blame falls on me. My mother is a gentle and timid woman, faced with Muan's persistent apologies. She grew so anxious that she kept pacing by the door. I stepped outside and immediately shielded my mother behind me. When Muan saw me, she fell to her knees with a thud right in front of me. She was crying pitifully, begging for my forgiveness. At this moment, if I were still aggressive, it would make me seem unreasonable. Since he was willing to act, I would play along with him. Wan Wan, what are you doing? I know you've liked Gu Feng since we were kids. When we were kids, you even wrote love letters to Gu Feng. The day before my wedding, you begged me to give him up for you, and now that I'm giving him to you, what more do you want from me? By the end, I was crying so hard I could barely catch my breath. Even my voice turned hoarse, though that last line was pure fabrication. Her feelings for Gu Feng and her desire to marry him were undeniably real. Adding to yesterday's incident, the neighbors around couldn't bear to see me being pushed to this point anymore. An auntie couldn't hold back and stepped forward. Wan Wan, stop coming here to cause trouble for others. Hurry up and go back. Once one person spoke up, the rest of the onlookers also started to voice their opinions. Mu Wan knelt there, her body trembling almost imperceptibly, her hands beside her involuntarily clenched into fists. Her frail figure knelt there, looking pitiful enough to tug at heartstrings, and coupled with the pointing fingers of those around her, she resembled nothing more than a helpless victim of bullying. And this scene happened to be witnessed by Gu Feng, who had rushed back to play the hero. Rescuing the damsel in distress, he ran over and immediately scolded me without hesitation. Shen Miao, don't go too far. Looking at Gu Feng's complete lack of judgment, I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. I must have been blind to have ever fallen for him. Fortunately, heaven took pity and gave me another chance to turn over a new leaf. Mu Wan, already swaying unsteadily, collapsed to the ground the moment she saw Gu Feng. Watching Gu Feng rush over like that was truly an eye-opening sight. This Muan is truly a 96 long Jing tea. What an old green tea bitch. Since that's the case, I'll just help her out then. I turned back into the room, grabbed a basin of cold water, and before anyone could react, splashed it all over Muan. Amidst a fit of coughing, Muan slowly regained consciousness. Seeing her put on that innocent White Lotus act, I couldn't help but respond sarcastically. Seems I've got quite the medical talent. My dear sister's fainting spells miraculously cured just like that. Someone nearby burst out laughing. Mu Wan's face fell. she couldn't very well fake another faint now. Her delicate features turning pale with rage, I shot a meaningful glance at an older woman in the crowd, who immediately spoke up, TSK, look at how lovey-dovey these two are, utterly shameless. No wonder Shen Miao called off the engagement, living in the same neighborhood. Everyone loves a good gossip. Once one person starts talking, the others can't hold back either, the whispers and pointing behind them finally made Gu Feng lose his composure. He shot me a glare, then abandoned Mu Wan without a second glance and walked away. This time, Mu Wan not only failed to gain my forgiveness but also ruined her own reputation. Watching her pitiful state, I slammed the door shut with a bang. In my past life, I barely managed to escape from the mountains. Instead of comfort from my family, I was met with their cold words. Gu Feng held Mu Wan in his arms, watching my misery with cold eyes, and even offered me money to stay away from her. As for the child I risked my life to give birth to, they all firmly stood behind Mu Wan. This time, I will make sure they lose everything too. Bad news travels fast, not to mention such juicy gossip. Within days, it became the talk of the town. Our three families lived very close to each other, and the three of us grew up together since childhood. Things turning out this way has left many people sighing in regret. Some parents even told their daughters to stay away from Mu Wan. Mu Wan's reputation was completely ruined, and she hid at home every day, refusing to come out. However, Gu Feng kept visiting frequently, for no other reason than his continued desire to marry me. In his explanation, Nguyen was always just a younger sister, while I was his wife, the one who would accompany him for life. He never imagined I would leave. When he came to see me again, I softened my tone and invited him out for a meal. This time, I was determined to shatter his illusions completely. At the same time, I also sent Mu Wan a text message. In the private room of the restaurant, the three of us stared at each other in silence. After a long pause, Gu Feng suppressed his anger and demanded to know why I had invited Mu Wan to come. Hearing this, Mu Wan couldn't help but sway slightly on her feet, but this time, she didn't pretend to faint or say anything, just looked at Gu Feng with tearful eyes. Her gaze made Gu Feng feel overwhelmingly guilty. At the dining table, the three of us ate in complete silence, the room so quiet you could only hear the sound of our eating. Just as Gu Feng was about to speak to me, his head tilted to the side and he collapsed onto the table, unconscious. Seeing Gu Feng faint, Mu Wan stopped pretending and dropped her pitiful act. What exactly do you want to do? Her tone was full of wariness. I burst out laughing. What do I want to do? Why don't I guess what you're planning instead? First, you'd have me marry Gu Feng and bear his child. Then you'd find a way to eliminate the mother and keep the child, successfully taking my place. With every word I spoke, Mu Wan's face grew paler. This time, it didn't seem like an act. She was genuinely terrified, because what I said was exactly what she had been scheming all these years. Her scheme exposed. Mu Wan looked utterly flustered but still tried desperately to explain. No, that's not it. Watching her feign composure, I continued to pour fuel on the fire. If you're trying to use me to get into the Gu family, then give it up. I don't want this man anymore. After glancing at Gu Feng, I walked straight out. Before leaving, I patted Mu Wan's shoulder and told her to seize this opportunity, since such chances don't come twice. After exiting the private room, I didn't leave immediately. Instead, I found a hidden spot to observe Mu Wan's every move. I watched her go to the front desk to check in, watched her slowly help Gu Feng into the room. Clever as Mu Wan was, she still couldn't resist. But for her, marrying Gu Feng was the best outcome she could hope for, even if he was just a sickly man. In her past life, she schemed step by step and reaped happiness. In this lifetime, I'll help her marry Gu Feng, then watch them become a resentful couple, tormenting each other in misery. Calculating that the timing was about right, I paid a street cleaner to call both sets of parents, even providing the room number. Over the phone, I could clearly hear Wang Feng's screams and panic. Within half an hour, Wang Feng arrived at the hotel. However, she hesitated at the hotel entrance for a long time and never went in. In contrast, Mu's mother, who arrived later, rushed excitedly into the hotel with a smile on her lips. Wang Feng couldn't even stop her. Watching them enter one after the other, I also went up the hotel stairs. As soon as I reached the stairwell, I heard Mu Wan's tearful voice and Wang Feng's furious shouting from inside the room. You little slut, scheming your way into my son's bed. Let me tell you, even if you did this, don't think you'll ever marry into our Gu family, a baron. Hen like you dares to covet our Gu Feng, though I don't like Shen Miao either, at least she's better than you. Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself in the mirror, see what kind of trash you really are. It must be said, ginger is spicier when it's old. Wang Fang scolded Mu Wan so harshly that she even forgot to cry. It was Mu Wan's mother who stepped in to mediate, first urging the two to get dressed. Meanwhile, Gu Feng remained silent the entire time. Once dressed, Mu Wan regained her composure and began slinging mud at me. Auntie, I truly don't know how things turned out this way. It was Shen Miao who invited me here. After that, I don't know what happened. Mu Wan shifted all the blame onto me, portraying herself as the victim. Gu Feng, who had been standing silently by the side, gritted his teeth and called out my name. His tone was filled with hatred. I clicked my tongue twice and quickly retreated from the stairs. The show had just begun, and I needed to hurry back to the stage to wait for them. No sooner had I arrived home and taken a sip of water than Gu Feng arrived at my doorstep with Mu Wan in tow. In the dead of night, the knocking was so loud it shook the heavens. Not only was my household awakened, but neighbors nearby also poked their heads out to see what was happening. At the sight of our familiar faces, everyone instantly became alert, their eyes brimming with excitement. Gu Feng looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. Meow meow, even if you hate me, you shouldn't stoop so low. You've truly disappointed me. I couldn't help but scoff. If Gu Feng wants to play the saint, I refuse to be his stepping stone. I rolled my eyes and asked impatiently what they really meant. Mu Wan stepped forward, sobbing. Meow meow, was it you who drugged us? Otherwise, why is it that the three of us ate together, but only the two of us woke up? She didn't finish her sentence, but as she slightly tilted her head, the red marks on her neck were clearly visible to everyone. I clicked my tongue twice, sizing Mu Wan up and down. She's really something else. Even with Gu Feng in that state, she managed to stir up so much trouble all by herself. I wasn't intimidated at all. Facing Mu Wan directly, I said, you claim I framed you, then let's call the police and see where the drugs came from, or who booked the room for you. Or was it me who forced your heads together and made you sleep with each other? I paused, tears welling up in my eyes as I addressed the crowd, putting on a brave face. Everyone knows Gu Feng abandoned me on our wedding day to take care of Mu Wan. Now that you've done something dirty, you want to pin it on me. Isn't this going too far? A clear conscience fears no false accusations. If you're not afraid of airing the family's dirty laundry, then let's call the police. The righteous tone in my words made everyone instinctively side with me. After all, if I dared to call the police, it proved I had nothing to hide. In contrast, Mu Wan looked guilty the moment I mentioned getting a room. Apart from Gu Feng, everyone present saw through things better than we did. While no one voiced it openly, they all understood perfectly well what was going on. The disdain on everyone's faces spoke volumes. Wang Fang finally grasped the truth of the matter and immediately pulled Mu Wan aside. Her face lit up with a smile as she looked at me with warmth and kindness. Meow meow, dear, I've watched you grow up since you were little. Gu Feng may have been a bit of a scoundrel before, but in his heart, there's only you, and in my heart, you're the only daughter-in-law I recognize. Our Gu family isn't just open to any random person who comes along. Wang Fang's words were practically rubbing Mu Wan's face in the dirt. Actually, I know exactly what Wang Fang is thinking. Mu Wan is a sickly girl, always fainting at the drop of a hat, and the crucial point is, she can't bear children. No matter how flawed I may be, at least I'm a normal person who can run and jump, capable of bearing children, and my gentle, pliant nature makes me easy to control. That's why she's now pretending to be a kind mother-in-law, begging me to reconsider. Auntie, Gu Feng and I have reached the end of our road. Since he and Mu Wanlang are mutually smitten, I'll step aside for them. Consider it my final gift to the bond we shared growing up. With that, I took my parents' hands and turned to go inside. Outside the house, Mother Mu was displeased with Wang Fang's attitude. Mu Wan, a pure and innocent young woman, had been taken advantage of by Gu Feng. To think they could just sweep it under the rug without a word was nothing short of a pipe dream. Outside the door, the argument between Mother Mu and Wang Fang showed no signs of stopping. Inside the room, my parents looked at me with deep concern. Meow meow, are you really sure about this? After thinking for a long time, my mom couldn't help but ask. I've been following Gu Feng around since I was little, and as I grew up, my feelings for him only deepened. They've seen all this with their own eyes, so now that I'm being so resolute, it's no surprise they're worried. Mom, Dad, there are countless men in this world, why should I hang myself on a crooked tree, especially one that's already tainted? Seeing that I had truly let go, my mom finally felt at ease. I also shared my plans. I wanted to join the company. Hearing this, my father looked up in surprise. This time, I didn't avoid it. In my past life, I was completely devoted to Gu Feng. After marriage, I became nothing more than a full-time housekeeper for the Gu family. All the company matters fell solely on my father's shoulders, and later, I disappeared. My parents had no heart left for managing the business, pouring all their energy into searching for me. Eventually, our family's company was outright swallowed up by Gu Feng. If I could do it over, I would never let this happen again. Under my father's arrangement, I successfully joined our family company. I threw myself wholeheartedly into my career, cleaning out all the parasites within the company. I never would have guessed our Shen family company actually had spies planted by the Gu family. Gu Feng must have been eyeing our company for a long time, but it doesn't matter. This time, I'll settle scores and repay grievances. Just as I was vigorously pursuing my career, my mother shared some news with me. Nguyen is going to marry Gu Feng. When I heard this news, I felt somewhat dazed. Then came the shock. Mu Wan is frail and unable to bear children. How could Wang Feng agree to let her into the family? But looking at the invitation in my mother's hand, I couldn't help but laugh. No matter what, these two ended up together after all. I heard Mu Wan's mother made a huge scene at the Gu family's doorstep not long ago. It was quite an ugly spectacle. In this situation, could Wang Feng have agreed to let Mu Wan enter unless Mu Wan had some leverage over her? Thinking of this, I immediately sent someone to investigate. Just as I hung up the phone, the doorbell rang. It was Mu Wan. Seeing the triumphant smile on her face, I instantly understood. She snatched Gu Feng away and came here to show off. Before I could even speak, Mu Wan started with her sweet talk. Meow meow, Gu Feng and I are getting married soon. Will you be my bridesmaid? Mu Wan still wore her usual delicate and fragile demeanor, but the joy in her eyes and brows was impossible to suppress. You really think you're the rightful one, treating me like some unwanted, discarded woman? Seeing my silence, Mu Wan earnestly invited me to be her bridesmaid again. The three of us grew up together, and now we want you to witness our happiness. I sneered and took the invitation from her hand. Don't worry, I'll definitely give you both a grand gift when the time comes. Mu Wan thought I was putting on a brave front and pretended to comfort me magnanimously. She even offered to introduce me to a boyfriend. Watching her grow more and more excited, I turned around, went inside, and fetched a basin of cold water, splashing it all over her with a loud splash. Amid her screams, I spoke coldly. Are you awake now? Do you really think marrying Gu Feng means all your worries are over? Gu Feng is the only male heir in 3 generations of the Gu family. If the lineage ends with you, what do you think Auntie will do? I didn't continue with what came next, but these words were enough to make Mu Wan break out in a cold sweat. Yet Mu Wan only panicked for a moment before continuing. Auntie likes me very much, even without children. She wouldn't blame me. Mu Wan spoke these words with great certainty, as if she had already reached some kind of understanding with Wang Feng. After she left, I immediately had someone investigate Mu Wan and Wang Feng for me. The Gu family agreed too quickly, which always made me feel there was something fishy about it. That woman Wang Feng, I know her all too well. In her heart, no one is ever good enough for her son. In my past life, I was gentle and obedient, always yielding to Gu Feng. After marriage, I devoted myself wholeheartedly to the Gu family, and within a year of marriage, I gave birth to twins for them. Only then did Wang Feng begin to look at me slightly more favorably. But now, Mu Wan is frail and unable to conceive, and even her marriage into the Gu family might have been schemed. Yet Wang Feng didn't make a fuss, which is clearly abnormal. There must be something fishy when things go against the norm. There's still over a month until their wedding, which gives me plenty of time to accomplish many things. Apart from investigating Mu Wan, the most important matter is company affairs. During this period, Gu Feng has been unsettled by family issues, leading to repeated mistakes in his company decisions, and this is my golden opportunity. The core businesses of both companies are highly similar. The opportunity that Gu Feng lost is exactly what I can firmly grasp now. Both of our companies have set our sights on a piece of land in the eastern part of the city. This land is extremely valuable. In the future, not only will skyscrapers stand here, but shopping malls and hospitals will also rise from the ground. Gu Feng had excellent foresight. In his previous life, when he acquired this piece of land, many people said he was young and impulsive, but later, reality gave them a harsh slap in the face. This time, I won't let such a great opportunity slip into Gu Feng's hands. The auction proceeded as scheduled. Coincidentally, Gu Feng's seat happened to be right next to mine. When he saw me, his eyes revealed a hint of pity and heartache. If there weren't so many people around, I would have slapped him without hesitation. Even at a time like this, he's still pretending. It's truly disgusting. Meow meow, give up on this piece of land. I looked at him as if he were an idiot, afraid he would spout nonsense the next second. I know you're doing this to get back at me, but I'm determined to get this land. The Shen family is no match for the Gu family. Once again, I was amazed by Gu Feng's arrogance. I let out a dry chuckle. He's quite imaginative, but it's fine letting him think that way. When the auction began, I didn't raise my paddle. It wasn't until Gu Feng raised the bid to 50 million and others stopped competing that I started challenging him. In his previous life, Gu Feng used 50 million to create a legend. This lifetime, I'm going to make him a complete fool. When the price reached 90 million, I noticed beads of sweat densely forming on Gu Feng's forehead. His gaze toward me also carried a hint of reproach. Are you out of your mind, Shen Miao? Do you even know how much 90 million is? I looked at him and smirked disdainfully. None of your damn business. I've got money to burn, and I'll spend it however I please. If you're too scared to bid, then crawl back to your corner. My vulgarity and contempt completely enraged Gu Feng, clenching his teeth. He ultimately raised his paddle one more time. 100 million. After speaking, she even gave me a provocative glance. This time, I didn't continue bidding. I never intended to bid for this land anyway. I was just deliberately driving up the price. All of this was a setup targeting Gu Feng. He had just taken over the company less than a year ago and urgently needed a success to prove himself to the shareholders. Originally, today's auction would have been the starting point for his rise as a new business elite, but from now on, it will mark the beginning of my strike against him. This piece of land indeed has high appreciation potential, but it will still require a significant amount of money to develop afterward. The Shen family's current funds simply cannot support such a large project. In his previous life, Gu Feng acquired it for 50 million and later relied on the Shen family's resources to develop it. Now, spending double the price, seeing Gu Feng's gloomy face, I knew how much trouble he would have in the future. But I pretended not to notice any of it. I stood up and sarcastically congratulated him. President Gu is indeed wealthy and powerful. Our Shen family admits defeat. Half a month after the auction, Gu Feng stormed into my office in a rage. Shen Miao, you deliberately set me up, didn't you? After half a month apart, Gu Feng looked considerably more disheveled, with stubble still visible on his chin. I clicked my tongue twice, looking at him with a mocking smile. Mr. Gu, are you here because your funds aren't circulating smoothly and you've come seeking help, or to hold me accountable? During this period, Gu Feng hadn't been doing well. Being pestered by Mu Wan every day was bad enough, but now he also had to deal with pressure from the company's shareholders. Ever since he acquired that piece of land, Gu Corporation's funds were completely drained. Every day, he was either drinking with potential investors to secure funding or on his way to do so. Meanwhile, not long ago, I had bought up the surrounding land at extremely low prices. Even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. Gu Feng, lacking funds, had no choice but to grovel before others everywhere he went. Gu Feng looked at my half-smiling expression and finally spoke up. Meow meow, I know you're getting back at me, and now you've succeeded. If you're willing, you can still be the bride at the wedding in a few days. Together, we'll be an unbeatable match. In my previous life, I was trafficked into the mountains and had seen all kinds of storms and waves. I was still shocked by his words. Even at this point, he's still indulging in wishful thinking. If you want to get something for nothing, you'd better see if I'm willing. Gu Feng, I really think you're not worthy of me now. Not only am I good looking, but I can also make money, and you, pfft. I sized Gu Feng up from head to toe, though I didn't say it out loud. My entire demeanor screamed one word: trash. Even after being humiliated like that, Gu Feng still didn't leave. Even if we can't be husband and wife, we're still childhood friends at least. We could work together to take a share of this pie. Gu Feng was truly desperate. His tone even carried a hint of pleading. I've never seen Gu Feng look so disheveled in all my life. As a child, he was the top student, the pride of his class, and as he grew up, he became even more of a prodigy. But now, I've driven him to the point where he resembles a stray dog. This state of his reminds me so much of when I first escaped from the mountains. At that time, I was filthy from head to toe, and my hair was a tangled mess from long neglect. When the police brought me to the Gu family, the disdain in his eyes was unmistakable. He even instinctively asked me, "Why are you still alive?" He truly wished for my death. My existence only tarnished the reputation of this entrepreneur. So when Mu Wan accidentally pushed me into the middle of the road and I was hit by a car, a flicker of delight flashed in his eyes. Now, with our roles reversed, he grovels before me, hoping I'll show mercy and let him off. But how could such minor setbacks ever make up for the pain I endured back then? President Gu, if you're willing, I can buy that piece of land from you. Although everyone now thinks Gu Feng's purchase of this land is foolish, it won't be long before the government invests resources to develop this area. And now is the perfect time to take advantage of the situation. Hearing my words, Gu Feng's eyes briefly lit up with joy. Can you come up with 100 million? Has President Gu been too busy to think straight? Right now, it's you begging me. Out of respect for our years of friendship, I'll give you a rock-bottom price. 50 million? Impossible. The moment I finished speaking, Gu Feng rejected it outright. Watching his furious reaction, I remained largely unfazed and simply said calmly, "You can think about this price, or shop around if you want, but for every day you delay, my acquisition offer drops by 5 million. With that, Gu Feng stormed out, slamming the door behind him. It seems it's time to push Gu Feng a little. A while ago, I had someone investigate Mu Wan, and the results were truly unexpected. I have to admit, Mu Wan has her ways. If I hadn't been reborn and gained this God's eye view, I might not have been able to outmaneuver her. Mu Wan indeed holds leverage against the Gu family. However, this leverage doesn't belong to the Gu family, but to Wang Fang. She accidentally discovered Wang Fang's secret. It turns out Wang Fang, just like her, is unable to conceive, but if she truly couldn't bear children, then Gu Feng's identity would be quite intriguing. Now, everything makes sense. Why did Wang Fang allow Mu Wan into the household? Why didn't she mind her lack of children? Turns out, they were cut from the same cloth all along. In that case, I'll just leak this information to Gu Feng. After all, he shouldn't live over 20 years without knowing where he truly came from. By the way, I also secretly had someone pass a message to the shareholders opposing Gu Feng. I believe Gu Feng will soon find himself caught between a rock and a hard place. He won't remain the president of Gu Corporation for much longer. In just 3 days, Gu Feng came to find me. This time, he clearly didn't have the energy to bargain with me anymore. 50 million, I'll sell. Today's price is 35 million. I didn't even lift my head, continuing to focus on the other work in my hands. Gu Feng angrily accused me of taking advantage of the situation and being utterly unreasonable, ranting on and on, but I didn't even spare him a glance. Only when he seemed to have finished his tirade did I start to show him the door. Sell it or get out. Gu Feng gritted his teeth until they nearly shattered, but in the end, he spat out a single word: sell. Afraid Gu Feng might change his mind, I immediately had someone draft the contract and signed it. After completing the entire process, I was quite satisfied holding the contract in my hands. I was even willing to reward Gu Feng with a smile. President Gu, pleasure doing business with you. Gu Feng snorted coldly and walked away without any grace. Gu Feng caused the company to lose a significant sum of money and was immediately ousted by the shareholders of Gu Corporation. If the Gu family ancestors knew about this, they'd probably jump right out of their coffins. While I was busy building my career, Gu Feng and Mu Wan's wedding arrived as scheduled. However, since I had previously dealt Gu Feng a heavy blow, Mu Wan had already replaced the bridesmaid selection. Today, I attended merely as a regular guest, but that didn't stop me from bringing them a gift. As for the red envelope, given our relationship, a simple blessing would suffice. The wedding venue was lavishly decorated. Gu Feng also invited many of his business associates, probably hoping to expand his network through this opportunity. When they saw me arrive, many executives gathered around to praise me as a young achiever and an outstanding woman. Several companies even handed me their business cards. seeking potential collaborations. I smiled through all the pleasantries. Just yesterday, the government officially announced that the plots of land I had bought earlier, especially the ones sold to me by Gu Feng, had increased several times in market value. The Shen family is about to rise. The more popular I am, the more ridiculous Gu Feng looks. After all of this was originally his. The wedding officially began, with one person looking utterly dejected and the other beaming with joy. Gu Feng felt as if he were being forced into marriage. The MC was guiding the ceremony, and the large screen displayed numerous photos of Gu Feng and Mu Wan. Photos from childhood to adulthood were shown, and just looking at these pictures, the two indeed seemed like a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman. But after the photos were shown, the video didn't end. There was still an audio recording left. It was Mu Wan who manipulated Wang Feng into admitting the truth that she couldn't conceive and that Gu Feng wasn't her son. Hearing this audio, Mu Wan's face turned pale. Meanwhile, Wang Feng, sitting below, darkened her expression. She stared at Mu Wan's guilty look and lunged at her directly. With a single slap, Mu Wan was sent tumbling to the ground. Then she straddled Mu Wan, groping her all over. It all happened so fast that the onlookers hadn't even processed what was happening before Mu Wan had already been slapped several times. Gu Feng, standing to the side, was completely stunned, seeing her daughter being bullied. Mrs. Mu rushed forward without hesitation. With Mrs. Mu joining the fray, Wang Feng clearly couldn't gain much advantage. The three of them engaged in a primitive brawl on the stage. It wasn't until Mu Wan fainted that the onlookers finally snapped out of it and pulled them apart. The farce ultimately ended with the bride being beaten and hospitalized. Through the crowd, Gu Feng and I exchanged glances. I sneered coldly and turned to leave. Even without me in the future, this family was destined to live in constant chaos and unrest. After returning from the hospital, Nguyen moved directly into the Gu family home. She and Wang Feng fought tooth and nail at home every day, keeping the neighbors awake even late at night. Gu Feng suffered setbacks both in love and business. At home, he had to face the quarrels between his wife and mother. At work, he endured the strange looks and gossip from those around him. With nowhere else to go, Gu Feng drowned his sorrows in alcohol at the bar day after day. With his handsome looks, many women naturally threw themselves at him. Gu Feng adhered to an attitude of neither refusing nor taking responsibility, often staying out all night. By the time Mu Wan, who had been busy competing with Wang Feng, realized what was happening, it was already too late. She could only keep catching him cheating. In the end, the two became bitter enemies. Meanwhile, the Gu family gradually declined and moved out of our neighborhood. 5 years later, I had become a renowned female entrepreneur in the city. On the same day I appeared in the news, another social incident made headlines in our city. The report stated that a man's domestic violence caused his wife, who suffered from heart disease, to relapse. She passed away despite emergency treatment, and even though the man's face was blurred, I still recognized him. It was Gu Feng. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. 15 years after my death, I saw my best friend in the underworld. Her hands were shackled, her eyes hollow, standing among a crowd of the most wicked souls. She was about to be pushed into the volcano hell, doomed to suffer eternal burning agony. Someone who doesn't dare to kill a chicken, how could they become a murderer? I used all my merits to pray for a chance to change my best friend's life. Coincidentally, I returned to the day of her grand wedding. I intended to solve the problem immediately, but then I saw the table full of delicious food. I hesitated for half a second before immediately diving into the feast. And Nan, what is she doing here? Are you crazy? You must be seeing things. She died in a car accident 5 years ago. I even attended her funeral. It can't possibly be a Nan. That's her. Look, this is her mukbang video with the bride, Su Bebe. Isn't that her right there? Whispers began to circulate around me, but I paid them no mind. My eyes sparkled as I gazed at the table full of exquisite delicacies, drooling uncontrollably. The underworld has its perks, but the food just can't compare to the mortal realm. Could it be twins? Otherwise, we must be seeing ghosts. Haha. One guy finished speaking with a forced laugh, but no one joined in. Even the earlier whispers had stopped. The surrounding tables were filled with lively chatter, making the silence at this table even more eerie. I stuffed drunken shrimp into my mouth while scanning the room for familiar old classmates and colleagues. grinning mischievously. "Hey, I don't have a twin sister. Long time no see. How've you been?" The response was a sea of pale faces staring back at me. The jokester who'd teased me earlier tumbled right off his chair, screaming, "Ghost!" while running far away. I took another bite of the stuffed tofu, nearly overwhelmed by the fragrant aroma of the meat, tears of emotion streaming down my face. I warmly urged, eat up, don't be shy." Sue Bebe may not excel at much, but she certainly knows how to pick a feast. At the same time, a tearful accusation rang out from behind. "Who are you saying is no good? You, turn around." I quickly lowered my head and stuffed 2 huge lobster balls into my mouth. I can only stay in the human world for 48 hours. Gotta eat as much as I can while I'm here. I puffed out my cheeks and turned around to see a beautiful woman in a wedding dress stumbling toward me. The moment she saw my face, she froze in her tracks, her shock unmistakable. The next instant, tears streamed down her face. Amid the chaotic noise around us, she pulled me tightly into her embrace. "Am I dreaming? But why does it feel so real?" she sobbed. "I munch, nan. I must be dreaming, right? Pinch me." The voice was gentle, as if afraid of startling me. "I munch. Why did you choose to visit my dream today? Did you also want to attend my wedding? Did you receive the letter I burned for you yesterday?" With an unreal longing, I kept chewing and chewing. "You little brat, stop eating. You're like a starving ghost reborn." The gentle voice turned into a roar. I shuddered in fright and swallowed it down. Countless times I've heard the lions roar from the east of the river. Now it reappears in the world. I really want to shout out loud. "Oh heavens, distinguish the loyal from the treacherous." Back when we were both popular, her fans absolutely refused to believe that Sue Bebe could ever raise her voice. I pick at my ears, eyes crinkling with amusement. "You little brat, getting married and not inviting me to feast." Then she pinched her hard. The pain brought another look of shock to her face. Tears in her eyes fell like broken strings of pearls, pattering down. I reached out to wipe them away, but the more I wiped, the more they flowed. I was pulled into her embrace again. Hearing her muffled sobs, I patted her back, unable to hold back. "Sue Bebe, have you gained weight? Sue Bebe, get lost." My sudden appearance caused a brief pause in the wedding ceremony, but soon everything resumed normally. As it was almost over anyway, to avoid shocking everyone, I pretended to be my own twin sister, standing in for my sister who had passed away 5 years ago. "I came to give my best friend blessings." This explanation sounded perfectly reasonable. However, Sue Bebe's eyes betrayed disbelief, yet she didn't press further or say much, merely patching up gaps in my story. Her toasts were half-hearted. As she kept drifting to my side to watch me feast, she kept putting food on my plate and pouring water for me, just like when we used to be food bloggers together. I was the one eating, and she was the one cheering me on. I tried several times to shoo Sue Bebe away, but she wouldn't leave. The groom was surprisingly kind, saying, "It's fine, you're the sister of her best friend. Let her stay with you. Nothing is more important today than the bride's happiness." Then, she had the hotel serve another round of my favorite dishes. Being attentive and considerate, she even offered to let me and Sue Bebe stay in the reserved presidential suite after the wedding. Before I could refuse, my best friend eagerly agreed. I looked at the groom, his face still wearing a smile, showing no trace of complaint. Sue Bebe pulled me toward the door when she suddenly remembered tonight was their wedding night. A hint of guilt appeared on her face as she turned to the groom. Zhou Yen reached out and ruffled her hair, his face full of adoration. "It's okay, I understand. Go ahead, I'll pick you up tomorrow to go home." Then he turned to look at me. "You sisters enjoy your chat. The hotel offers room service, so don't hesitate to order whatever you'd like." Though he wasn't strikingly handsome like Pannon, he was tall with delicate features and clear, handsome eyes. From our brief interaction, it was clear he was thoughtful and courteous, and his gaze toward Sue Bebe was full of affection. Such a man could truly be called an ideal husband. It would be even better if there weren't a resentful ghost standing beside him, glaring at him with a sallow face and vicious eyes. The ghost noticed my gaze and slowly turned its head, suddenly shedding 2 streams of bloody tears from its eyes. Sue Bebe pulled me into the presidential suite, hesitating to speak, then stopping, then hesitating again. Finally, after I ordered 5 milk teas, 3 barbecue shops, and 2 dessert places. Using her phone, I confirmed one thing, a nan. it really is you. Since you died, I've never met another glutton like you. Then she wrapped herself around me like an octopus and cried all over again. I patted her back, nodding and murmuring agreement, then decisively ordered from 2 new shops I'd never tried before. There's no choice. I have to race against time while in this world. After finishing this, there's another matter that also requires racing against time. Unexpectedly, Sue Bebe suddenly spoke up, her face beaming with joy and her eyes brimming with excitement. I don't know how you came back to life, but right now, I'm just overjoyed. Today was too rushed. Tomorrow, I'll take you to see our company. It's thriving now. Let me make this clear first. When you come back, I'm giving the general manager position back to you. I'm exhausted to death. I swallowed the words I wanted to say, unable to bear looking into her sparkling eyes. I can only stay for 48 hours. After the banquet just now, there are 44 hours left. Sue Bebe's smile froze on her face, her eyes reddening again as she struggled to speak. So you came specifically to bless my wedding, that's why you chose to appear today. Zhou Yan and I have an appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow to get our marriage certificate, so you can witness it. As soon as she said it, she immediately corrected herself, shaking her head like a rattled drum. No, I'll spend the rest of my time with you. We can get the certificate anytime. I have money now. I can take you to eat the most expensive and best things. I had a belly full of words to say, but decided to put them aside for now, at least for this moment. Simply enjoy the happiness of reuniting with a good friend. Most importantly, my takeout has arrived too. We spent the whole night eating and chatting, as if we had returned to the days when we were inseparable. We stayed up until 4 in the morning before Sue Bebe couldn't hold on any longer and closed her eyes in exhaustion, drifting off to sleep. Her complexion was rosy, her forehead full, and a satisfied smile played at the corners of her lips. I didn't need sleep. Leaning back on the sofa, Sue Bebe's gaunt face flashed through my mind. Back then, Sue Bebe had just entered the underworld, a stark contrast to the person she is now. I'll never forget the sight of Sue Bebe walking slowly among a crowd of wandering spirits. She wore heavy shackles on her ankles and wrists, her every step constrained. Only souls destined for the 18th level of hell receive such treatment. The once plump Sue Bebe I remembered was now skin and bones, gaunt and haggard. Amidst a crowd of wailing souls begging for mercy, she stood out as peculiarly numb. My blood boiled, and I rushed forward calling her name, but her eyes were blank with confusion. She hadn't even drunk Meng Po's soup yet, but already couldn't recognize me. This proves her mind was already clouded while she was still alive. I remember receiving Sue Bebe's burned letter announcing joyful news. She'd found her ideal husband and was extremely happy, but I also want to emphasize that I'm not love-struck, so please refrain from harsh criticism. When I received this letter in the underworld, I only felt comforted, but now, thinking of Zhou Yan and the resentful spirits around him, my emotions are complicated. Careless. Sue Bebe is still blind. A vengeful ghost only follows the person who killed them or indirectly caused their death. Without resolving the grievance, the spirit won't dissipate. Even if Zhou Yan isn't the murderer, he's no saint either. I don't even need to investigate deeply. Sue Bebe's fate proves that this marriage was doomed from the start. The only thing I need to do now is break up this marriage, preferably ensuring Sue Bebe and Zhou Yan's family never interact again. Besides, my time here is extremely limited. After I leave, Sue Bebe will still have to face everything alone. Moreover, I know Sue Bebe all too well. She's too kind-hearted and soft, offering boundless trust and tolerance to those within her circle. She's also profoundly lonely. Both of us grew up in an orphanage, and the longing for a complete family is overwhelmingly strong. If Sue Bebe remains stubborn, how can I prevent her from falling into such a tragic fate without violating the underworld's rules? Just when I was at my wit's end, a turning point came knocking on its own. It all started when Sue Bebe took me to tour her new home. She had bought a spacious flat of over 200 square meters in the city center. From the balcony, you could see the city's landmark buildings, and she had saved the best room for me. She was thrilled. The place we rented before didn't even have windows. We couldn't see anything during the day without turning on the lights. Now look at this entire floor-to-ceiling window, so bright and airy. And here's your room, a small suite with a balcony, bathroom, and walk-in closet. I felt like crying. After all these years since my death, my best Friends still remembered the vow we made during our most destitute days. She held my hand, her eyes reddening. Can you only come back to the mortal world once every 5 years, or can you visit more often? It's okay, I'll have your room cleaned regularly. You can stay whenever you come. The door code is the last 2 digits of my birthday and yours. This will always be your home. I was just about to say something heartfelt when, with a beep, the electronic lock clicked open. 2 women walked in. One of them I recognized from yesterday's wedding banquet, Zhou Yan's mother, kind-faced and gentle. The other was a woman in her 30s, following behind Zhou Yan's mother. Upon seeing us, she walked to the center with a beaming smile, pushing me aside. Then she naturally linked arms with Su Beibei and said affectionately, I told godmother you'd be here, Beibei, as your best friend. I'll just say a few heartfelt words. Last night was so important, yet you didn't stay with Zhou Yan. He was really upset and called me halfway through the night, and today, you stood him up on the day you were supposed to register your marriage. This was an auspicious date Auntie specially picked for you. It's all my fault for having to work overtime yesterday and not being able to attend your wedding. Otherwise, I would have talked some sense into you. A true best friend wouldn't just stand by and watch you make mistake after mistake, right? As she spoke, her gaze fell on me, such a strong smell. I narrowed my eyes and covered my hand, which was itching to slap her. Zhou Yan's mother didn't speak, but her face was full of dissatisfaction, her eyes filled with reproach. Su Beibei frowned, but her voice remained as gentle as ever as she looked at Zhou Yan's mother. Auntie, I need to accompany my best friend. Zhou Yan knows about this. We've already discussed postponing our marriage registration. Then she turned to the young woman, her voice turning noticeably colder. Wang Yu, I never said you were my best friend, did I? At best, we're acquaintances. With that, she pushed her hand away and came over to link arms with me. Let me formally introduce you, my one and only true best friend, and Nan Nan's little sister. I smirked and raised an eyebrow at Wang Yu, seeing the astonishment in her eyes. She probably had never witnessed Su Beibei being so openly dismissive of her before. Wang Yu quickly glanced at me again before immediately linking arms with Zhou Yan's mother, her eyes welling up with tears as if she had flipped a switch. Godmother, I don't even have a say in this family. Though you've acknowledged me as your goddaughter, I'm still an outsider after all. I am speechless. Zhou Yan's mother, with her kind and gentle demeanor, immediately began smoothing things over. All right, Xiaoyu, don't say too much. Beibei doesn't have family, and it's rare for her to have a close friend. That's good. Shaowen's younger sister, right? As Beibei's friend, we'll definitely treat you well. But Xiaoyu does have a point. The wedding registration date was specially chosen by a master, and it's not good to change it. How about this? Auntie will stay with you, and let the young couple go ahead with the registration. You wouldn't be so inconsiderate, would you? The words sounded reasonable and polite, but there was an underlying sting that made them quite uncomfortable. My frown hadn't fully formed when I heard Su Beibei's voice turn completely cold. Auntie, I'm not getting married anymore. Please leave my house now. The smile on Zhou Yan's mother's face couldn't hold any longer, her lips twitching twice. Wang Yu immediately jumped up. Su Beibei, how can you talk to godmother like that? Have you forgotten she saved you before? Is that so? I looked at Su Beibei, and a trace of guilt flashed across her face, but she still insisted. One thing at a time. You barged into my home and insulted my friend. That's unacceptable. Now, please leave. With that, without hesitation, she shoved the 2 of them out. I was somewhat surprised and turned to Su Beibei. Wow, you've got quite the backbone now. Huh? In my impression, my best friend had a pushover personality, extremely easy to manipulate, and was most afraid of conflicts with others. Every time we went out and encountered conflicts, I was the one charging at the front line. As soon as I started the fight, she would instantly follow, but it was limited to just standing behind me like a robot, repeating, exactly. It's all your fault. Su Beibei opened the refrigerator, selecting food, then turned to look at me upon hearing my words. You have less than 30 hours left. I don't want to waste time arguing with them. Let me cook your favorite meal first. I also ordered takeout from several 5-star hotels earlier, but their delivery will take a bit longer. Looking at her smiling face, I suddenly had an idea. Hey, breaking up this marriage turned out to be easier than I imagined. I sorted through my thoughts. and was just about to suggest that Su Beibei invite Zhou Yan and the other two back when Zhou Yan showed up on his own. The moment I heard his first sentence, I grabbed a handful of sunflower seeds and settled in to watch the show. Zhou Yan put on quite the act, bringing plenty of delicious treats when he came over. First, he apologized on behalf of his mother and Wang Yu to me, then he started trying to comfort Su Beibei. After comforting her for a while, Su Beibei's expression finally softened a bit. Then he took over the responsibility of cooking and urged Su Beibei and me to go chat in the room. Leave the kitchen to me, you two have a good chat. He patted his chest in assurance. I looked at him and finally realized that Su Beibei wasn't just being foolishly in love. This guy was simply too good at acting. I spat out a melon seed shell and asked with a smile, your little sister told me you were on the phone with her half the night yesterday. Seems you were quite angry then. Why not just say it outright? Zhou Yan's expression changed imperceptibly for a moment, but he quickly composed himself. She exaggerated. Yesterday, she couldn't attend the wedding because she was working overtime, so she called specifically to send her blessings. Just a few minutes, then he turned to Su Beibei, holding her hand. You know, you're the only one in my heart. She's just a neighbor who happens to get along well with my mom. I can't be too rude to her. I immediately interrupted, exaggerating my tone. Then why is your little sister talking nonsense? Could she be a green tea bitch trying to make Beibei misunderstand? And your mother, in every word she says, she's siding with your god sister. The three of you, won't you gang up to bully Beibei? Su Beibei's face, which had just begun to soften, immediately twisted into a frown. Zhou Yan didn't expect me to sow discord right to his face. His lips twitched as he struggled to suppress his anger. How could that be? Shaowen, my mom really likes Beibei. In fact, it was my mom who introduced Beibei to me. Moreover, when she fainted on the street back then, my mom was the one who called 120 and even accompanied her to the hospital. Beibei, isn't that right? My mom has always treated you like her own daughter and cared deeply for you. I continued my dramatic performance. Is your whole family trying to hold this favor over her head? Your adopted sister just brought it up earlier, and now you're mentioning it too, Beibei. How many times has their family brought this up? Enough, Zhou Yan suddenly shouted at me. I've been respectful to you only because you're Beibei's friend, but from start to finish, you've been sowing discord. What exactly do you want? I was inwardly ecstatic, but I didn't let it show. Su Beibei's face darkened. Zhou Yan slowly exhaled. From what you said last night, it seems your only sister has also passed away. You can't just drag your friends into eternal loneliness because you feel lonely yourself. My relationship with Beibei won't be torn apart by your few words. I'll give her a perfectly happy home, the warmth of family she's always longed for. If you're determined to ruin our relationship, I ask you to leave our home immediately. Su Beibei silently walked toward the entrance, while Zhou Yan, with his back turned to her, smugly raised an eyebrow at me. Please leave right now, Su Beibei said, directing her words toward our side. Zhou Yan, feeling triumphant, turned to me and said, you, get out. The next second, the smile vanished from his face, because Su Beibei's calm voice rang out. Zhou Yan, please leave my house immediately. This is my home, and it has nothing to do with you. I'll pack your things and send them to you later. We're breaking up. This time, it was my turn to raise an eyebrow triumphantly at him. By the time we started eating, Su Beibei showed no signs of anything unusual, peeling lobster for me one moment and serving me salmon the next. When I choked, she gently patted my back. None of us mentioned how Zhou Yan had left earlier, looking utterly shocked and devastated. During this time, she hung up several calls, blocked that family right in front of me, and then called the property management, finally getting a moment of peace. By the time I was full and burping on the sofa, Su Babe gave me another gentle look. How about going out for a stroll, to walk off the meal? There's an amazing dessert shop in the mall nearby, you'd love it. I couldn't help but ask, Su Beibei, don't you think I'm here to ruin your marriage? Su Beibei blinked her eyes. Are you? I confessed. Yes. She paused for a moment, then nodded seriously. You must have your reasons for doing so. I grinned widely and ate with even more relish. Can you tell me? She asked. I shook my head. No. Oh. She placed another piece of sliced steak on my plate. Then eat more. We went out for a walk after dinner, and just as we reached the gate of the neighborhood, We ran into Zhou Yan and his mother, who were arguing fiercely with the security guard. Zhou Yan spotted us immediately and rushed over with a bouquet of roses. Bebe, I just lost control of my emotions earlier, please forgive me, I shouldn't have treated your friend like that, Zhou Yan said, then turned to me. Xiaowen, I'm sorry, I was just too concerned about Bebe. Please don't hold it against me. There are too many strange types of best friends portrayed in TV dramas these days. And I'm worried Bebe might get deceived, but I trust Bebe, and since she trusts you, as her husband, I should trust you completely too. I glanced at Zhou Yan several times, feeling puzzled. Where had the resentful ghost by his side gone? Zhou Yan's mother walked over, also wearing a smile. Please forgive me, dear, I don't understand you young people's affairs. You see, Zhou Yan wanted to apologize, but the security guard wouldn't let him. It's not good for a family to end up like this. Just making fools of ourselves for others to laugh at. Come on, although you haven't registered your marriage yet, the wedding ceremony has been held in our hometown. This already counts as an official marriage. Bebe, take this bracelet. I originally planned to give it to you after you registered your marriage, and I was looking forward to hearing you call me Mom. With that, she cheerfully took out a jade bracelet wrapped in red cloth from her bag and slipped it onto Su Bebe's wrist. This mother and son duo really know how to speak flawlessly. Su Bebe kept a cold face and withdrew her hand. Sorry, we've already broken up, so I won't accept this bracelet. As for the gifts received yesterday, I'll return what needs to be returned on my end. Your family can handle your own side. Both Zhou Yan and his mother wore expressions of suppressed anger. Zhou Yan took a step toward her, holding the bouquet. Are you still upset about Wang Yu? Don't worry. I've already talked to her and told her she's not allowed to show up at our place anymore. I crossed my arms and watched the drama unfold, unable to resist a sarcastic remark. Oh, our place. Bebe already made it clear. This place has nothing to do with you. Didn't you notice even the security guards wouldn't let you in? What kind of man would swallow his pride and come crawling back right after being scolded? You're not just here to make up because of Bebe's money, are you? During dinner, I'd already found out everything. Zhou Yan has a 9-to-5 job, so he doesn't have to worry about food and drink, but compared to Su Bebe's current wealth, there's no comparison. I don't believe Zhou Yan and his mother aren't after money at all. The onlookers, who had been watching the drama unfold, couldn't help but start murmuring among themselves, with faint whispers of gold digger and the like. Zhou Yan's mother was the first to lose her composure. How can you talk like that? They're a young couple who are together by mutual consent. You, an outsider, are always trying to drive a wedge between them. Haven't you heard the saying? Better to tear down 10 temples than to break up a marriage, otherwise, you'll face retribution. I was overjoyed, eagerly watching her, hoping she would say more. Zhou Yan could see the situation more clearly than his mother and immediately tried to pull her away, but Su Bebe had already struck back, her voice filled with anger. Zhou Yan, please control your mother, don't let her go crazy and bite people randomly. You and I have nothing to do with each other anymore. I don't want to see either of you again. As soon as she finished speaking, a sharp female voice suddenly rang out. Su Bebe, are you out of your mind? How could you insult Auntie like that? It was Wang Yu who spoke. She rushed out from some corner and hurried over to support Zhou Yan's mother, saying, Godmother, don't be angry, your health is what matters most. As she spoke, she gently patted Zhou Yan's mother on the back. Zhou Yan's mother seemed to receive some kind of signal and suddenly began gasping for breath. Appearing as if she couldn't breathe properly, Wang Yu stood with her hands on her hips and launched into a continuous tirade, accusing Su Bebe of being arrogant, disrespectful to her mother-in-law, excessively jealous, refusing to accompany the groom on their wedding day, and causing him to drown his sorrows late at night, and so on. Zhou Yan, his face full of anxiety, angrily scolded, Wang Yu, stop it. This has nothing to do with my wife. Then he gently looked at Su Bebe with reddened eyes. Honey, please stop making a scene. Okay, I apologize on behalf of my mom. They said the wrong things. Don't take it to heart. The onlookers began shifting their stance again, one after another criticizing Su Bebe, though most of the blame was directed at me, accusing me of lacking boundaries and meddling in a couple's affairs. The surroundings buzzed with excitement, especially as those three put on such an exaggerated performance. playing the victims to perfection. Meanwhile, I stared wide-eyed at the sudden appearance of the resentful ghost. He stood beside Wang Yu, bleeding from his eyes before progressing to bleeding from all 7 orifices. Then he drifted over to Zhou Yan, gripping his neck tightly with force. Unfortunately, those in the living world couldn't see him, nor could he harm these 2 individuals. Once again, his gaze met mine as he slowly opened his mouth. Horrifyingly, there was no tongue inside. Su Beibei was already fuming from the scattered accusations of the crowd. She had never been good at arguing. Now, seeing my displeasure, she grew even more anxious. Her eyes reddened as she grabbed my arm. "Let's go," she said. The others exchanged smug glances. Seeing we were about to leave, Zhou Yan finally came out, hypocritically pretending to protect her. "Thank you, everyone. Even an honest official can't settle family disputes. This is between me and Beibei. Please be more understanding and stop criticizing her." "All right, now I'm certain Zhou Yan deserves the death penalty." I stopped in my tracks with a grin. "Zhou Yan, when did you kill someone?" Zhou Yan was caught off guard, his face turning deathly pale. What nonsense are you talking about? Who killed someone?" I pursed my lips and gestured. "Look, over there. There's a ghost standing beside you, strangling you. Don't you feel that eerie chill around your neck?" Chinese people love a spectacle, but they're also afraid of ghosts. At these words, the crowd scattered with a sudden rustle. Wang Yu widened her eyes. "Are you talking nonsense again? You won't be happy until you ruin someone's perfectly good marriage, will you?" I looked at her. "Haven't you been feeling soreness in your back lately? That ghost has been sitting on your shoulder. He told me it was you 2 adulterers who conspired to kill him together." With every word I spoke, their faces grew paler. Zhou Yan's mother immediately rushed over. "How can a girl like you spout such nonsense? Wang Yu's husband died in a car accident." "It was an accident. What does that have to do with my son?" My eyes lit up. "Oh, so it really is adultery." Everyone, take a look at their guilty faces. Do you really believe there's nothing going on between them? I just threw out a bluff to test them, and look, they're practically hugging each other. Zhou Yan immediately pushed Wang Yu away, furious beyond measure, and actually raised his hand to strike me. With a sharp slap, it was exceptionally loud. Zhou Yan's eyes widened as his head was knocked to the side. He covered his cheek, looking at Su Beibei with utter disbelief. Su Beibei's chest heaved violently with anger. "You, despicable!" Zhou Yan's mother and Wang Yu, like provoked lionesses, were about to lunge forward to attack. However, the advantage of this neighborhood was that the security guards were quite responsible toward the residents. They had already prepared and immediately stepped forward upon seeing the situation, positioning themselves between us. "Miss Su, perhaps you and your friend should head back first." The property manager suddenly appeared out of nowhere. An elderly woman who had been watching the scene for a while suddenly grabbed me, both shocked and fearful. "Young lady, can you really see that thing?" I laughed heartily and replied with utmost sincerity. "How could that be? There are no ghosts in this world, just people trying to scare others." The crowd around us visibly relaxed. Then I continued, "But I suggest that brave friend call the police. It's hard to say whether these 2 actually committed murder. Look how terrified they are. Clearly, they've done something wrong." The 3 people being held back, including Zhou Yan, started cursing even more viciously. I grabbed Su Beibei's hand and was about to leave when suddenly, I heard Zhou Yan's furious voice. "Su Beibei, you're carrying my child. Who else could you possibly marry besides me?" Su Beibei beside her suddenly halted, her eyes filled with disbelief. Zhou Yan shoved the security guard aside. The roses already fallen to the ground, trampled into a mess. He straightened his sleeves, the gentle act from earlier completely gone from his face. "Su Beibei, can't you think for yourself? A random sister you barely know has turned you against your closest people. I'm so disappointed in you. You don't want your child to be born without a father, do you? As I've said, I can give you the happy, perfect family you've always wanted." Last month, didn't you keep losing your appetite? I suspected something and used a pregnancy test on you, but I was afraid you'd get too emotional and ruin the wedding, so I didn't tell you. If you don't believe me, go to the hospital right now. As he spoke, his eyes gleamed with smug confidence. Wang Yu was visibly shocked, her eyes filled with resentment as she glared at Su Beibei. Meanwhile, Zhou Yan's mother became smug again, flashing her fake smile. "Oh dear, look at how this young couple has ended up." she's already carrying my grandson. Bebe, you really shouldn't make a fuss now. Zhou Bebe trembled with anger. I said I didn't want children for the first 2 years of marriage. Zhou Yan, did you tamper with something? Zhou Yan shamelessly retorted, this was all consensual. If you hadn't cooperated, I couldn't have done anything about it. Besides, how can you blame me for tampering? Condoms aren't 100% effective anyway. I was so furious I could practically see smoke coming out of my ears. Completely forgetting all the underworld rules in my rage, itching to rush forward and tear that smug, ugly face to pieces, but then Su Bebe suddenly grabbed me and stepped in front of me, her demeanor becoming remarkably calm. If I get pregnant, I'll just have an abortion. It's my body. What are you going to do about it? At the same time, police sirens suddenly blared. A concerned bystander in the crowd spoke up. Never mind whether it's true or not, I've already called the police. All this arguing and shouting is causing such a bad scene. Su Bebe watched as Zhou Yan and his two companions suddenly changed expressions, sneering coldly. You used to be best buddies with Wang Yu's husband, then suddenly cut ties. I thought her husband had really cheated and run away from home. You'd better clean up your own mess first. Su Bebe did hold a wedding ceremony with Zhou Yan, even if they weren't legally married, but when it came to something as serious as a homicide case, she couldn't avoid cooperating with the investigation as his former partner. It took much longer than I had imagined. When Su Bebe came out of the police station, she looked extremely pale. As soon as she came out, she anxiously looked around and spotted me sitting on the bench across the way. Finally letting out a sigh of relief, she managed a faint smile and jogged toward me. Without explaining the specifics, her first words were, "Come on, I'll take you to a delicious little place. They have your favorite pork rice noodles. And it's not far from here. Hurry, let's run so you can still make it." Then she grabbed my hand, and we started sprinting wildly, but when I arrived, the shop had a sign saying, "Closed for the day." Out of breath, Su Bebe crouched down and suddenly burst into loud sobs. Seeing her lonely figure, I felt just as heartbroken as she did. "Bebe, I'm sorry." She lifted her head, her face covered in tears, and pulled me into a tight embrace. After crying for a while, she suddenly wiped her face forcefully with her hands, her nose and eyes turning red, but her tone was firm. "So I'll have a miserable future, right? You've said it before. I'm a big fool, the easiest to be deceived. If I'm unhappy, especially if it's my own fault, you'd come back from death just to scold me. I don't know what price you paid to return, but rest assured, I won't waste this chance you've given me. No matter what happens, I'll live well and never give up on myself. Just wait, we'll be real sisters in our next life." The seconds ticked by relentlessly. In her embrace, I listened as she cursed through tears and laughter, her voice gradually dissipating into the wind. Once in the underworld, how could one easily return to the mortal realm? Those 48 hours of reappearance cost her the long-awaited chance for reincarnation, and meant utter annihilation of her soul. Next life. There won't be a next life. Is it all right? Everything was worth it. Goodbye, my friend. Extra Story 1. I am an employee under Mengpa. Times are advancing, and so is the underworld. The Mengpa soup production has been divided into material preparation, brewing, and execution teams. All job roles have become institutionalized. The staff has also expanded. The last time we gathered, there were already over 100 mid-level managers alone. I feel like I've lived for a very, very long time, yet I have no memories of past lives. From the moment I can remember, I've been in the execution team, day after day, handing a cup of Meng Po's soup to the souls crossing the Naiha Bridge. Those who refuse to drink it can press the emergency button in front of them, and the ghost officers will appear to handle the situation. However, most souls hold the belief that since they're already dead, all grudges and grievances should be let go. As for those few with particularly deep obsessions, what fate awaits them after being escorted off the Naiha Bridge remains unknown to me. Occasionally, some souls would have last-minute regrets, causing quite a spectacle. One that left a deep impression was a man bleeding from all 7 orifices and missing his tongue. Rumor had it he lingered in the mortal world as a vengeful ghost for a long time. It wasn't until a great monk performed rites for his soul that he finally found liberation. But who would have thought that after stepping onto the Naiha Bridge, he took the Mungpa soup I handed him, only to suddenly show emotional turmoil, his eyes filled with unwillingness, smashing the bowl to pieces. Alas, he couldn't speak, so he could only resist the Angry curses of the underworld officers with silence. In the end, he gave up a life of great wealth and prosperity in his next incarnation, choosing instead to stay in the underworld, waiting for those who harmed him to receive their just retribution. When I saw him again, he had already been working in the underworld for over a decade, and it was said he witnessed with his own eyes those who harmed him in his past life descend into the 18 levels of hell. His expression had calmed considerably, with no more blood flowing from his 7 orifices, dressed in simple clothes. Although he had heard that his next life would only be as livestock like cats or dogs, his face bore a look of relief. He took the mungpa soup but did not drink it immediately. I thought he was about to cause trouble at my stall again and was starting to feel displeased, when suddenly he bowed deeply to me, then he drank it all in one gulp. Laughing loudly, he walked toward the other side of the Naiha bridge. I stared blankly at his retreating figure, racking my brains but coming up with nothing, so I simply shook my head and cast it to the back of my mind. After that, everything returned to normal, until one day, a ghost messenger came to inform me that I could be reincarnated. I was utterly confused, but I had grown somewhat weary of this job anyway, so I thought reincarnation might not be a bad idea. I changed into fresh clothes and cheerfully walked onto the Naiha bridge, where a new colleague had already taken my place. Standing beside her was a sprightly elderly woman with graying hair and sagging skin, yet her eyes were exceptionally bright and clear, devoid of the typical cloudiness and confusion seen in the aged. She was clearly someone who had accumulated great virtue in life, blessed to pass away peacefully in her sleep. When she saw me, she waved her hand with a kind and amiable smile. I felt somewhat puzzled and slowly approached. As I got closer, the old woman suddenly turned red-eyed, tears streaming down her face drop by drop. I was stunned, frozen in place, a surge of indescribable emotion welling up in my chest. A colleague saw me approaching and handed me a bowl of mangpa soup, reciting words I knew all too well. Drink the soup and forget past grievances, let all enmities dissolve, on the path of rebirth, ask not of former ties. But 2 more lines were added afterward, all because merits are fulfilled, heaven's grace permits sharing the cup. The underworld records blessings in its ledger. In the next life, kinship shall continue. I was somewhat shocked and turned to look at my colleague. She winked at me with a smile. Enjoy your new life. You're lucky to see family even before rebirth. I turned to look at the old woman. Her eyes reddened. I'm sorry for making you wait so long. Then I tilted my head back and drank half a bowl of mang po's soup, gazing at the old woman's tear-streaked face. I took the half bowl of mang po's soup she handed me and drank it all in one go. Memories of the past flooded my mind, scene after scene. When I looked up again, tears were streaming down my face. I forced a smile as tears fell into my mouth, salty and bitter, yet my heart had never been happier. You've not only gotten fatter, Su Bebe, but also older, so much older that I almost didn't recognize you. The old lady, no longer gentle-faced but full of vigor, shouted, "Get lost." We exchanged smiles and walked together toward the Naiha bridge. My mind was in a haze as past memories faded away, but it's okay. In the next life, we can be family. After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.